Okay, so this is my really rough, quick sketch for my headpiece. I had in mind those kind of vintage deco headpieces that almost have the wings on either side of the head, but a lot of the deco ones were just solid crystal. I want to use feathers as well. So my idea is that there'll be black feathers here, and then the silver stars that I used on the necklace coming up on wires here, sitting, and there'll be one either side, so it's going to be kind of symmetrical. I haven't ordered anything, so I'm putting this together all from things that I've got in my stash. So to make the base for it to sit on, I've got a double headband. I buy these from feather.com.au. And then I've got these little black discs. They're also from feather.com.au. And I'm literally going to stick them either side so that I've got a base to attach all my feathers and my stars to. For the stars, like with the necklace, I'm going to take the stars off this old headpiece that I've got. And then I'm going to re-glue them onto this thick wire to create these long bits. I don't have a lot of that, so that's kind of going to dictate how long they are and how many I can do. Then in my feather stash, again, these are all feather.com.au. I've got some of these lovely long black feathers with kind of that lovely greeny tinge to it. I've got quite a few bags of those actually. And then I've also got this really soft black feather fringe as well, which I might put over the top. We'll see. I might even take those feathers off and use them individually to fill in the gaps. For the wire and the stars, I'm going to be using E6000, which I will use outside because I shouldn't. I used it for the necklace in here and it's so disgusting and so toxic. I'm going to go outside and do that part. And then I've also got my hot glue gun, which will be used to put the rest of it together. Alright, I've actually found a second one of these old headpieces, and I'm wondering that instead of having to pull all the stars off and re-glue them onto my wire, which I don't think I've got enough of, I'm wondering if I can cut these and find a way to make them symmetrical so I can use them either side instead of having to glue them, which will save time. I already pulled quite a lot of stars off that top one to use on something else, but I reckon I can pull these apart and find a way to make some symmetrical shapes. And that'll save me a load of time and a load of waiting for glue to dry, and it will save my wire for something else. So I'm going to try and do that instead. So I think up to there they're both the same, and I think I can probably manipulate these stars to be on the other side so that it does look symmetrical. That looks pretty symmetrical. And I reckon if I put them on like that, they look quite wing-like as well. And then maybe if I can use a second piece, I'll leave those like that. But yeah, that's a great first one to use. Let's see if I can do the same with what's left of this end. Excellent. So I've got two pairs, and I think once I layer these together I can create the shape and the swoosh I want, and I'll cut more off at that point if I need to. But yeah, that gives me two pieces I can use to attach without having to glue it onto my wire, and it gives me some spare stars to put on the top after I've got all the feathers on as well if I need to. And I'll probably cut more off here too, so I'm really happy with that, and that's just saved me a whole bunch of time. So to make the headband, the first thing I need to do is attach these discs onto my double headband, because they're going to form the base that I can then glue all the feathers and everything onto. So I've just pinned them on and I've tried it on. For me, they need to be about 2¼ inches above the bottom of the headband, because I want them to sit quite low on the sides of my head, but you've got to make sure they're not so low that they're tucked in behind your ears. So that's what works for my size of head and this headband. So now I'm just going to use my hot glue gun to glue them into place. Alright, so this is my headband base with everything glued on. So they're really securely onto the double headband. I find the double holds a lot better than a single headband. It just makes everything more secure and it's a bit easier to wear as well. So that's 1, 2 sides, and it's nice and smooth on the inside. So next we're going to start gluing feathers to the outside. But to do that, I'm going to pop it onto one of my polystyrene heads so we can make sure it's sitting right and looking symmetrical as I glue them on. So before I start adding my feathers, I'm sorting them into which way they bend, because I'm going to need to find pairs as I put them on to try and make it as symmetrical as possible. Hopefully between the two piles I'll be able to find some good pairs to make a nice symmetrical pair of kind of wing shapes on each side. All I'm going to do is select a pair from my 2 directions of feathers, glue one side, one on one side, one on the other side. If I've got 2 that are slightly different lengths, I just trim them down so that they're the same length. And then I use my hot glue to gradually start building up the shape I want to make. So there's the first pair on. You can see how I'm trying to make them symmetrical in the shape and length. Sometimes that means you have to glue them at different angles to get them sitting the same. But I'm happy with that as my first feather, and now I can build up from there. So I'm going to keep going with these feathers and I'll come back and show you when I finish this part. Okay, so all of the long feathers are on and I'm really pleased with how they're looking. I've changed my lighting around, so sorry if it was a bit backlit before. I've only got one light and it's always hard to arrange stuff behind my desk because there's not a lot of room. So this is how it looks from the side, the back, the other side. It's going more backwards than my drawing. My drawing was a lot more upright, but I actually think this gives more of that sort of deco look. And I like it more from the front without it being completely sort of vertical here. So now these feathers are on. What I need to do next is just cover up the ugly bottoms of these feathers and this little bit where you can still see the base. To do that, I'm going to use these feathers that are quite fluffy at the bottom, and I'm going to cut them to about there where the fluff's quite wide, and then glue them on just coming off the edge just to hide all that. And it's just going to add that little layer of feathers at the bottom there, but it will just neaten all that up. And again, I'm using my glue gun for this part. You can sort of see just how that's softening that edge there and hiding what we want to hide. Cool, so that's almost there. I'm just going to do a few more around the bottom and then I'll do the other side, and then that's going to, yeah, cover up nicely the base part so we can't see what it's all attached to. Alright, so that's both sides with the fluffy feathers on to hide the bases. So that's how it looks from the front. You just see the little bit of fluff there. So next I've got to decide exactly how my stars are going to sit. I'm actually wondering if we could do them on here but then coming up over as well. So I'm thinking if that bit sits on there and then this top part twists around, oh, it's really hard to hold it, and sits up like that, and then the symmetrical one on the other side, that could be really nice. Yeah, I'm going to do that. It's going to be tricky getting both sides the same, but let's give it a go. I'm going to try it with the hot glue gun. If it doesn't work, then I'll take it off again. Oh, that looks lovely. I like how more three-dimensional it is than what I'd drawn. Excellent. I think I'm going to have to put some more glue in behind all the feathers to join them together because it's a little bit wobbly at the minute. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do this on the other side. Okay, I've got the second side on. I've got everything just pinned for now just to support it until I can secure it a bit better. But it's actually worked really well because the two ends meet up above the headpiece, and I really like that. It's giving me that kind of full moon feel, and it's just making it a little bit more interesting from the front as well. So I'm really happy, really happy. It's kind of changed from my original design, but for the best, I think. So what I'm going to do now is just glue 3 more stars on here, which I'll use the E6000 for. So I'll go outside and do that. And then I think the only other thing, other than using some better glue to secure it more at the side, is adding maybe 1, 2 loose stars to these side parts as well. And then I think we're finished. I've still got these pieces, but I just don't think it needs them as well. So here is the finished headpiece. I actually have 1 spare star as well, so I've attached it to a little bit of chain and this little AB crystal, and I'm going to glue that in the centre parting of the wig with some spirit gum or whatever I've got to glue it on with, which I think will be just a really nice little finishing touch. But here is the finished headpiece. I'm really happy with how it's turned out. I think the addition of this sort of arch over the top has added just an extra bit of interest that it was lacking when it was just the side parts. I think they would have been pretty, but I really like having this as well. So I was going to do the wig and the headpiece and then the final reveal all in one video, but this headpiece video is turning out to be a little longer than I thought it would be. So I'm going to keep this just as one video. Then I'll do the wig and the final look in the next one. Thanks for watching. See you soon.